Hello, and welcome to Apparel's Web Connection series. Today's session is entitled Transformation in Motion, How Brooks Brothers Drives Inventory Productivity Through Planning Innovation. I'm Susan Nichols. I'm the publisher of Apparel, and I'll be serving as your moderator. I'd like to thank our sponsor of today's event, 7th Online. Now, we all know who Brooks Brothers is. They are, of course, an extremely iconic apparel brand. But, you know, in some ways they're like the rest of us in that they aren't immune to all these amazing very fast-paced, incredible changing trends that are happening and the demands that consumers are making along with all these changing trends. So to stay ahead of the game, Brooks Brothers is currently undergoing a business transformation, and it's part of its complete global growth strategy. And in heading down this path, it has identified that its merchandise planning and allocation is a critical area that needed to be modernized. And to do that, or they wanted to do that so that they could both drive inventory productivity, also business agility in the face of all these really incredible challenges, again, that all of us can relate to and all of us are facing. So today we're not only going to get to hear about Brooks Brothers' ongoing journey, what it's doing about some of these challenges, how it's making decisions to move forward, but we're also going to hear about some best practices for rapid implementation once you decide what it is you're going to do from a technology standpoint, and some ideas around successful user adoption. What makes it work? What are some of the best practices we can learn from, and some of the perhaps things we might avoid that others have learned ahead of us. We are pleased to have two speakers from Brooks Brothers joining us today. We have Ellen Ross, who's the VP of Forecasting, Planning, and Allocation, and Sahal Lihar, who's the EVP and CIO. We also have a veteran of retail merchandising and planning, Ben Lentini, who is the VP of Planning Solutions for 7th Online. Now, before I move right on into the content that I know you want to hear, I do just want to let you know that you can email me any questions you have for our panelists. There's an area on the left hand of your screen to type in your questions. I'll hold those questions until the conclusion of our initial discussion, and I'll pose them on your behalf. Please know that your identity does remain confidential to the audience, and you can also use this section if you happen to have any technical questions or issues during the webinar itself, and you will get a direct reply from our producer. Okay, so first up, we're going to hear from our two Brooks Brothers guests who are going to speak to us together. Now, as I mentioned, Sahal is the EVP and CIO for Brooks Brothers. He's responsible for ensuring that the company's information technology investments, that their resources, that their project execution are aligned with their strategic business objectives. And prior to joining Brooks Brothers, Sahal was the CIO for StrideRite Corporation, and his experience is deeply rooted in enterprise technology transformation, dating back to an ERP consulting background at both Deloitte and Accenture. Now, as VP of Planning and Allocation, Ellen Ross is responsible for executing merchandise and financial plans that, of course, also are aligned with the strategic initiatives of the company. Prior to joining Brooks Brothers, Ellen was Vice President of Forecasting and Planning for Calvin Klein Jeans and Underwear. And she joined the company just recently in September 2014, and she has more than 20 years of experience in the apparel industry. So as you can see, we've got two very, very well-knowledged veterans of the industry, so we're excited to have them here with us today. And with that, I want to welcome them both to the program. And at this time, I'll turn it over to you, Sahal.
Thank you, Susan. So we're going to kick off with just a little bit of background on the kind of the business rationale and imperatives behind our transformation program. So we'll get started with that and just give you a little bit of background on Brooks Brothers. We'll, again, get into the content here very quickly. We won't spend a lot of time on the background. But for those who don't know, Brooks Brothers is America's oldest specialty retailer, founded in 1818. And really, I think the key point here is that as a company that's been around for a while, and Susan mentioned this in her intro, we are certainly not immune to the changing trends in the industry and the demands of the omni-channel consumer. So that really was the main driver behind us kicking off our transformation program. So just a little bit more detail on that. the global growth of Brooks Brothers has been rapid in the last few years. We now have over 600 stores in more than 20 countries, and so a truly global presence. And as we look at the global presence, they're supported obviously by sourcing offices throughout Asia and Europe, as well as multiple distribution hubs, also split between North America, Milan, and Hong Kong. For those of you who do know Brooks Brothers, you'll know that we have a very large assortment, tens of thousands of SKUs, and that's really driven by the fact that we have multiple, not just color, style, and size, but we also have different cuts, like the regular slim fit, extra slim fit, and then in the suits we have 4 different cuts. So, when you multiply out all of those different permutations, you end up with the tens of thousands of SKUs very quickly. So the new business opportunities for us really beyond retail has been obviously international growth, which I talked about, as well as wholesale. And there's also a significant piece of our business that does high-end uniforms, including some for some of the armed forces. So the bottom line here was that our company had become too complex, and the processes that we had were just not scalable to continue to run our evolving business. And a lot of what we did really was driven through Microsoft Excel, and I know that, again, we're not the only ones here. In speaking with a lot of peers at other companies, I know that Excel is really used by a lot of retailers to kind of bridge the gap between enterprise systems and some of the areas where there just aren't good capabilities, and so data ends up being either maintained in Excel spreadsheets or exported into Excel spreadsheets through the use of pivot tables and VLOOKUPs, people kind of piece together solutions. So, definitely not a scalable solution, and not one that gives you, the end-to-end visibility, because, the Excel spreadsheets become extremely large and complex to manage, and so there's never going to be a time where you have just one Excel spreadsheet that shows you your entire business. It's going to be broken out across the different areas. So with that background said, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen here, who's going to give you a little bit more detail around the specifics of the business side and the business case.
Thank you, Sahal. So the business case that was really the impetus for the change came from our Gab trouser business. I'd been with Brooks Brothers about a month, and I was getting a lot of feedback that we just didn't have the right product in the right places. So I asked my team to do a little test. We took about 13 stores, and we dramatically changed the assortment of our Gab trouser program. We chose the trousers because they're one of our less complex businesses. It's a business where we only have 2 fits. There's not complex sizes, and we have a pretty manageable amount of colors. So we said, let's take this business. It represents about 2% of our overall North America business, and let's do something drastic. Let's take these 13 stores, and let's change their assortment. We looked at fit, color, and size distribution, and we took out things that were in the store that weren't working, and we put into the stores things that we really saw that were working. After 1 month of the change in assortment in these 13 stores, we saw a 17% increase in sales over the previous years. Compared to the rest of the stores, we're at +6, and prior to the change, these stores were trending flat. The second month that we had this assortment change in the stores, these 13 stores saw a 5% increase in business year over year compared to the rest of the chain, which was at down 5. Then after 3 months of measuring these stores, these 13 stores picked up $70,000 in additional sales compared to the balance 120 stores, which picked up $150,000 in sales over the 3 months. So per door, I was realizing a $4,000 incremental sales increase in the doors that we changed the assortment. if I was to be able to address the entire chain for the entire year, I would have been realizing a $2 million pickup in sales. So that became really the case for us to say, hey, we need to really look at a system that will help us change our assortments and get the right product in the right places. We needed a dynamic solution that would take into account the complexity of our business. As Sahal said, we're a multi-channel retailer. We have retail stores, factory stores, and a direct business. In North America, myself, I have over 250 stores. Again, as Sahal said, we have a large product assortment, several sizes and fits, and at this moment we have over 50,000 active SKUs that we're managing. We needed something that would address localized assortments. 250 stores, they all have different needs. I constantly hear from stores, I need small, and then I hear from another stores, I need larges. We need to address hot zone stores, cold zone stores, and sizing needs in those stores. We need a system to help us with SKU reduction and SKU rationalization. As we saw with the GABs, sometimes less is more. We actually reduced assortments, and we saw a pickup in sales. We needed to turn faster. Because of the breadth of our assortment, we just have so much product that isn't turning the way we need it to turn because it might not be in the right places. Size optimization, as I said before, some doors go left, some doors go right. And efficiency, we were Excel-based, 100%. We were spending too much time managing systems and reports and not managing the business. We also needed a formalized preseason and in-season process. When I got here, really not a lot of formalized process in regards to merchandise planning, open-to-buy reviews, and things like that. So just to give you an idea, current state, and obviously we're in the process right now of transitioning over to 7th Online. So when I say current state, this is where we are today, and within a couple of months, we expect to be fully functional on 7th Online. So right now, we're Excel-based. Everything is a manual exercise for our preseason merchandise financial planning and cap planning. Our merchandise line plans and financial goals are often not aligned. We have a tendency to say, well, we had this last year, so we need more of this next year, without really understanding that half of it didn't work, or some of it worked really well and some of it didn't work really well. Our initial merchandise and seasonal plans don't directly link to our open-to-buy. We spend a lot of time toggling back and forth between Excel spreadsheets, our planning systems, and allocation systems. For assortment planning, we've really built, I will say, a pretty extraordinary Excel-based tool, but it is Excel. And our system administrator, even he's really excited to get into 7th Online because it's too much managing spreadsheets. It's not where we need to be focusing our time. So right now, our planners, because there's no direct link between assortment planning and open-to-buys, they're constantly managing these spreadsheets and not the business. We have things like static door clustering. As I say to them all the time, in the system we have, if you're a B door, you're always going to be a B door. So we don't take into account that some doors may sell product better and they may actually be an A door, or they may sell product worse and might be a D door. Right now, you're one thing or you're the other thing. We have doors that we might consider temperate, except in the summer, they're hot doors, and we really don't take these things into account right now because we're static. Our in-season and open-to-buy process. We're using a legacy system. It's clunky. It's not flexible. It gives you certain views. You can't see things how you'd really want to see them to manage the business. We're importing. We're exporting. Just a lot of time playing with systems. Business intelligence. Right now, our manual processes, they're delaying our reaction time, and we're really reactive instead of being proactive. And then, as I said, we had no standardized and formalized weekly or monthly business process. We've changed this a little bit, but I still have one person looking at one thing, another person looking at the other thing, so we're not standard. So where we plan to be with 7th Online. So our implementation, we started in January, and right now we're looking to go live in June with merchandise financial planning, and then in July with our assortment planning. So for preseason merchandise financial planning and cap planning, we're going to have the ability to align our financial goals with the line plans and make informed decisions go forward about what really drove our business in the past. Our goal is to cut down development that we really don't need. Merchandise and seasonal plans, they'll align and they'll directly feed into our open-to-buy planning. For assortment planning, again, an integrated planning solution which aligns our assortments to our merchandise plans, and then it will eliminate our open-to-buy tools that we currently have and also integrate with our supply chain tools so that everything is just flowing from one system to another system. No more uploading, downloading, toggling back and forth. Dynamic store clustering and localized assortments. This is going to really take our business to the next level. I can now find out and see easily what these stores need, what those stores need, and give them the product they need when they need it. Visual assortment. This is one of the things that we're super excited about. This really brings to life what our assortments look like so that you can see them as you're doing them, and we plan to share that with the stores so they can see before they get their product what their floor should look like. Plan on using them with marketing and with visual merchandising so they know how far out our buys are going, where our all-door buys are, what our key looks are, so that we have a comprehensive marketing plan. And finally, in-season and open-to-buy planning, we're going to have a dynamic system that's flexible. It allows us to evaluate our business with multiple views. Embedded BI, the report builder, is going to give us the ammunition to act rather than react to our business. And then what-if scenarios. Industry standard metrics that we're not looking at today are going to be able to make us look at the things that we need to take action on our business and make informed decisions. That's really the business case for why we're making these changes and where we see 7th Online taking us. And with that, I'll turn it back to Sahal.
Thank you. So I'll spend a little bit of time on the background and select 7th Online. So some of the solution criteria in the decision-making framework really that we wanted a solution that was mature and incorporated industry best practices. We really were looking for someone that, a vendor that had experience that was deep and specific to the fashion and apparel industry, because that is absolutely a critical piece. Given the complexities of apparel and fashion, with what we talked about with size, style, color, fit, and then also cut, it's more complex than just planning for widgets that are in a single size, etc. So that was a very critical piece, and we really found that there were many different planning solutions out there, obviously, but the other key piece that was important to us was also making sure that we had a partner that would work with us, and we had the ability to influence the product direction and be involved in co-development and co-innovation. And when you couple that with the industry expertise that 7th Online brought to the table, that was a very key differentiator. Some of the other reasons were that the tool is a cloud-based tool, and that gave us a speed-to-market advantage over some of the other on-premise tools, not just from a the build standpoint, but also from the standpoint of getting an infrastructure up and running, acquiring on-premise servers or assets to run the solution and maintaining those. And that's also a good segue into really the piece around, again, working with a partner that had an onshore managed services model, and this really provides us with the ability to partner with Seventh Online beyond just the implementation and really on an ongoing basis. Have Ellen's team work very closely with the Seventh Online team, and it reduces the constraint on internal IT resources, which the internal team, given that this is just one of many, many different projects in the transformation umbrella, is tapped out working across many different initiatives. So certainly that was a big advantage as well, if we had a partner with a turnkey solution who also provided some services on an ongoing basis that would maintain the platform, maintain the solution, and work with the business with the adoption, training, and so on. And I think overall, as we talk about adoption, user-friendly and intuitive solution is critical, and I think that that's certainly another box that we were able to check off with what Seventh Online brings to the table. So now we'll spend a few minutes on some of the other pieces, and I just want to highlight that this is not a technology project, and while technology is a key enabler and a key component of it, I think the success of this project really depends on two critical pieces. The first is strong executive champions and sponsors, and that sponsorship at the executive level with Ellen and the rest of the business owners is critical. And I think the other piece also is the strong collaboration with Seventh Online, which where they are a partner that really comes in and collaborates and rolls up their sleeves to work with us very closely. So what I've shown on here on the left is the Henry Ford quote that you've probably seen before, around if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, and I think we've kind of changed that to some of our learnings early on in the project, where the innovation piece is extremely important, because I think if we had started this project and just kind of polled people as to what they wanted, a lot of people would have just said better Excel spreadsheets, and we really wanted to elevate the bar and advance the dial beyond what we just had. So while we could certainly have come up with a way to get more innovative with Excel, it certainly was not a strategic solution that would advance our business forward, nor would it give us that the end-to-end visibility in one place. So just to spend a minute here on some of the other key building blocks and components. I mean, I think the strategy and vision obviously is very important and needs to be, really start driven from the top, with strong executive sponsorship, which we talked about. And, not only that, but I think with these projects, it's very important that you have a roadmap, and you have a roadmap that is not a tactical one, but a truly strategic roadmap that spans multiple phases, because as you know, when you get into these projects, there's many, many different capabilities, and everything is not going to be possible to enable on day one. So, we have to come up with a roadmap that shows the prioritization and sequencing and phasing of these initiatives, and that again is really only possible with strong collaboration with all of the business owners. And really the collaboration doesn't end there with, signing off on the roadmap, but it's really an ongoing collaboration, both internally as we go through the overall project through to launch and beyond, but also with our partners with Seventh Online, who really help to facilitate and drive a lot of the discussions up front with regards to how the current Brooks Brothers processes map to the tool, and how we have to design the solution going forward. Because one thing that we were very adamant about not doing is just taking our old processes and shoehorning them into a new solution, because that really does not advance the dial. And we really, if we had done that, we would have just ended up with a very costly and customized solution that didn't really challenge the status quo in terms of business process, but rather took just some of the old processes that really were in need of re-engineering. And we really needed to infuse the best practices that Seventh Online has built into the tool over time. So, I think the best practice piece, again, as I talked about on the prior slide, is an extremely critical one, because you don't want just a technology partner as a vendor for your solution either, because they really need to know the business, and they need to have strong business expertise, and they need to have people that really grew up in this space and understand the pain points of what it takes to run this business, and have really then been able to influence their respective development teams to come up with a solution that really bridges those gaps and addresses the capabilities. And then finally, the piece that I just want to spend a minute on, and it does not get enough press, but yet, at the end of the day, when a project ultimately, you look at the success or lack thereof of a project, 90+% of the time, change management is an key driver there. And the people who are successful and get good adoption and deliver successful solutions are the same people that spend time up front on change management, looking not only at processes, but also really, engaging the users and getting the input from an early stage, but also then including them throughout the project, all the way up to the user acceptance testing and training and rollout, and really making sure that again, it's not just a technical lens of change management in terms of what's the tool doing, but how is the day in the life of a planner going to change as a result of the new tool, because of the new processes we've introduced, and really the elevation of capabilities that we're really trying to drive towards and bring to the table. So that concludes our piece of the webcast, and I will now turn it back to Susan, who will introduce Ben from Seventh Online.
Great. Thank you so much, Sahal, and thank you, Ellen, for sharing some of your insights and experiences as you've started down this path with Brooks Brothers and helped guide them. It's more than a project, as you say, so we appreciate some of the thoughts that you've shared. We have a number of questions coming in, and I do want to remind our audience to feel free to keep sending in those questions. Remember, your identity is confidential as I ask these, so we'll get to those shortly. But before we do, I'd like to take this time now to introduce you to Ben Lentini. He's the Vice President of Planning Solutions for Seventh Online, where he has oversight for the firm's planning portfolio. And this includes product development and delivery, consulting, as well as customer support functions. Ben has more than 25 years of merchandising and planning experience in both the retail and the wholesale sectors. Prior to Seventh Online, he was VP of Merchandising for Designs, Inc., which operated the original Levi's and Levi's outlet stores. He was also COO for Belly Basics, a manufacturer of high-end maternity apparel and accessories sold to retailers such as Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom. I love that name, Ben. I don't know where Belly Basics was when I needed them, but it's a great name. And you've also spent time in management consulting, working for Arthur Andersen as the lead product management consultant for their retail merchandising practice, and additionally as an implementation project manager for Blue Cherry, There he implemented and maintained the ERP system for clients such as Tommy Bahama and 555 Soul. So as we promised, as with our other speakers, Ben is a true merchandising veteran. He has some great advice to share. So with that, Ben, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Susan. I don't know where the Belly Basics name came from either, but it certainly was very successful, especially with pregnant women. It's been, a real pleasure working with Sahal, Ellen, and their team at Brooks Brothers, and we're very glad that, we've been part of the journey supporting Brooks Brothers' global transformation. As Ellen mentioned, we are primarily focused on pre-season merchandise planning, assortment planning, and in-season open-to-buy at this current stage of the implementation. In addition, we've been working with them on a size optimization project, which has the potential for an allocation project in the very near future. But the overall objective is not only to help Brooks Brothers streamline planning and execution processes, but also become more proactive in identifying demand patterns, profit opportunities, and inventory risks, like Ellen mentioned previously. Over the years, we've worked exclusively with apparel, footwear, and accessory retailers and brands. Many of them have gone through or are currently undergoing a type of business growth and global transformation similar to Brooks Brothers. We're proud to be partners with some of the industry's fastest growing and leading brands, learning their needs, their unique approaches, sharing their best practices with them, and collaboratively driving process and technology innovation. Many of you might be wondering at this point, all that's been said sounds great in modernizing existing practices and technology, but how do you turn all that into reality? What are the do's and don'ts when it comes to implementing an omni-channel planning strategy? So today I would like to share with you just a few things we have seen that help to create implementation success. Many ask, how best to approach an implementation for their global company? Is it better to go with a big bang method, meaning should we implement all planning processes throughout our entire organization in one full swoop? Or should we implement in a phased approach, meaning let's start with a division or region first, hammer out all of the nuances and requirements before exposing other areas to the planning systems? We here at 7th Online have always favored the phased approach. While this approach may take longer to implement, as far as timeline than a big bang approach, we feel that it leads to a quicker adoption rate as new areas and associates can see the benefits the already implemented areas are receiving. We believe a carefully mapped out phased implementation is a way to generate quick wins, deliver rapid time for value, and serve as solid foundation for sustained results. After you figure out the overall process, the overall approach, how well the application maps to and supports a client's actual business process becomes key. That is why a deep discovery is absolutely critical at the beginning of an implementation. Some clients have perfected a set of processes in a legacy system environment and would like the new application to support that and provide the ability to scale, while other clients, like Brooks Brothers, want to use the opportunity of implementing a new system to revamp their existing processes. And it is then critical to understand what is the desired to-be process. In either case, deep discovery and discussions of best practices play a critical role in clearly defining the client's objectives and requirements. In any of our planning implementations, we normally reserve between 35 to 45% for the discovery and blueprint phase. Getting commitment and alignment from senior management and users early in the implementation is a top critical success factor, very similar to what Sahal had said when he talked about change management. Having the proper expectations set will increase your chances of user adoption. And speaking of user adoption, there is nothing more disappointing than software as shelfware. Certainly many things can have a direct impact on the rate of adoption. It could be the system and process alignment, the integrity of the data, the integration automation, the training, and I can go on and on. One thing we have seen that has worked very well in driving user adoption is a friendly user interface. When an interface provides the familiarity of an Excel spreadsheet, an environment the users are often very accustomed to, as we heard from Ellen, they were 100% using Excel. But while it's backed by an intelligent and powerful analytical engine, the reaction has been very positive among our users. In fact, in a recent analysis conducted by the 7th Online Customer Advisory Board, our front-end interface was rated extremely easy and a major reason for user adoption of the planning systems. Additionally, the power of analytics and giving the end users direct control of their data has proven to be another win and factor for success. The idea here is very simple. Instead of only giving IT the access to advanced tools to slice and dice business data, planners and buyers can take advantage of an intuitive reporting and analytics engine embedded in a planning and allocation solution. This gives them immediate insights as they are analyzing their business and tweaking their plans and projections. And finally, a successful project not only brings about immediate benefits for the planning and allocation team, the process, insights, and system together can turn the planning department into a hub for global demand visibility. Other critical departments such as design, production, supply chain, and finance can better collaborate based on such demand visibility. A win for one team can be translated into a win for many in the entire organization. So now, let's take a closer look at each of these factors. A planning and allocation initiative can be complex because the retail organization is complex. So the question is, should you take a big bite and try to go for a big bang type of implementation, or are you better off doing it phase by phase? If so, what kind of sequence is recommended? As stated earlier, we recommend at 7th Online a phased approach instead of a big bang approach so that the organization can generate some quick wins, lay out a solid foundation for user acceptance, and then proceed with the rest of the project. So where do we begin? Of course, the answer to that will largely depend upon the retailer and their immediate pain points. In an ideal situation, we recommend working from the beginning of your planning cycle. For 7th Online users, that means merchandise financial planning, open to buy, assortment planning, and then finally allocation. The reason for this is we feel that planning trumps execution. Execution works well once a solid plan is in place. As Cornelius Fitchner, the president of OSP International, a leading organization that trains individuals to become certified project managers, says, and I quote, "Planning without action is futile. Action without planning is fatal." So once you have a solid plan that has been optimized for your store demand, the allocation system will then ensure the execution is seamless and that any additional profit opportunities during the selling season is captured and realized. Another approach could also be to utilize open to buy, or OTB, as an opportunity to generate a quick win within an organization. Going live with OTB first gives the users an immediate opportunity to plan, track, and react to in-season trends aided by intelligent tools such as forecasting and reporting. Instead of spending days to compile data for OTB analysis, a planning system can automatically update the OTB every week or every day if desired with the latest POS data. Without wasting any precious time, the team can immediately start analyzing their business and make important markdown or reorder decisions. Starting with OTB gives the team immediate utility, not to mention that OTB will serve as the foundation for the next season's merchandise plan. This increases the adoption of the merchandise plan, and after the MP and the OTB are in place, assortment planning becomes the next logical step. For global companies with numerous and complex distribution channels, the chances for a quick win become a little trickier. Many multi-channel retailers currently have separate planning teams that are responsible for brick and mortar stores, for web, for domestic wholesale, and or international wholesale, to name just a few. Keeping each of these channels aligned to the corporate direction can be challenging because in many cases, each channel is working within its own segregated silo. Moreover, each channel might be using different tools to support their own planning processes and needs. At the corporate level, there's a lack of visibility into the total global demand, and this can impact a global brand's identity, as is communicated through inconsistent assortments, and this can affect profitability if inventory ends up piling up in one channel while it's ultimately needed in another. Planning platforms like the one we offer at 7th Online, first and foremost, supports retail, e-commerce, and wholesale planning with solutions tailored to their unique processes and metrics. In addition to that, We also provide corporate visibility of inventory and demand to all channels to allow for better upfront supply planning and in-season inventory productivity. So essentially, we are looking at the corporate level demand planning that facilitates and communicates merchandising strategies between channels and regions. For companies that strive to achieve such global demand visibility, therefore, it can be important to first implement the corporate merchandise planning capability, then bring on board the wholesale account planning and the direct-to-consumer channels, which includes the brick and mortar as well as the e-commerce. Oftentimes, such a multi-channel company also carries multiple brands that distribute via all channels. And it is then important to also map out a sequence for the brands or channels to go live with a comprehensive demand planning application. As always, the key here is to keep it simple. Even for complex organizations with multiple channels, it is about starting from the right piece, generate wins for the users and management, and then move by phase to upgrade the rest of each of the channel's capabilities. As mentioned previously, first and foremost, a successful implementation begins with deep discovery of a client's business processes. The alignment between the processes and the new application is at the heart of many successful implementations. Some clients simply envision the new application to support mature existing processes for the benefit of enhanced visibility and efficiency. Some other clients, however, are more interested in using the opportunity to streamline existing processes and map out a best-of-breed process and future state. Discussions of industry best practices can be of great value during this stage to help a client benchmark and rethink their existing practices and uncover new perspectives. Clearly defining and documenting the existing and the to-be processes serves as the cornerstone of a successful system implementation. I want to break out the discovery phase to sort of help you determine the following. When you use discovery, these are sort of the answers you should be looking for. Who should be performing each step outlined in the new best-of-breed process? What KPIs should be used to create, evaluate, and revise the plans? When should each step in the process, should be performed? Where each of the KPIs that are needed to plan are stored? And how are these KPIs transmitted to the new planning system? The last two statements are handled through the integration phase of the implementation. A planning and allocation system typically integrates with a customer's ERP and/or PLM system. After initial discovery, an important next step is to map out the system touch points and uncover needs for configuration and potential enhancements. Having a great process means nothing without the necessary KPIs to analyze it. We have seen that determining the right KPIs and then creating an automated, integrated process of transmitting these KPIs is a key part of the implementation process. Many delays within an implementation are caused by key pieces of information that are needed to plan, not residing in a place where it can be easily integrated with a planning system. Understanding this early in the discovery process, though, allows for more time to determine potential short-term alternatives while the long-term solution gets scoped out. Also, the implementation is not successful if user adoption is low. Here, many things can be at play. It could be process or system alignment. It could be data integrity. It could be training quality, whatever. For the application, however, its design and technology has a direct impact. For a planning and allocation system, we have seen that the flexibility of the application is vital to many users. Does the tool dictate a fixed hierarchy, or does it allow a flexible hierarchy? Does it allow clients to rename attributes to their common corporate nomenclature? What does the user interface look like? Will it be an easy migration from their current tools? We believe these are key questions to ask any software provider when evaluating a new system implementation. Just like many of you, I have been a planner for many years, and the countless days and nights spent with spreadsheets do not seem to be a distant memory to me. It's almost as if I was doing it yesterday. Although we are collectively marching into a brave new world filled with touchscreens and motion-sensitive types of advanced interfaces, on the job as a planner, buyer, or allocator managing hundreds and thousands of SKUs, millions and billions of dollars of business, many still feel the need at home when looking at an Excel spreadsheet. Back in the late 90s, I still remember how hard it was to move my planning and buying team from Excel to JDA planning, even though we knew it was the right thing to do to grow the business at that time. To facilitate this, we here at 7th Online, we built an Excel-like interface combined with a powerful analytical and automation engine, which proved to be a winning combination for a planning and allocation team to quickly adopt. Instead of learning a whole new interface while navigating a brand new tool, users feel at ease with the look and feel of Excel while discovering the power of a statistical and analytical engine in the back end that brings speed, visibility, efficiency, and intelligence to everyday work. For the business team to do their job well, another critical piece is their access to actionable analysis and insights. This often involves slicing and dicing data in a variety of ways to uncover investment risks as well as profit opportunities. In most companies, powerful and sophisticated BI tools are available, but because they often require advanced database knowledge, the use of it is limited to the IT department. Business teams, therefore, need to heavily rely on IT to get insights to perform critical planning and analysis. Putting the power of reporting and analysis into the hands of the actual users, therefore, turns out to be a powerful way to get users engaged with a new planning and allocation system. With an embedded and intuitive reporting engine that only requires a few drag and drop and mouse clicks, very similar to what is it? I'm trying to think. I've drawn a blank. Pivot tables. It's going to be the pivot tables. We've seen a planning and allocation system win over users within a short period of time. However, what is interesting is that other departments such as finance and supply planning now also can access and run reports out of the 7th Online system to get an updated picture of demand and inventory for their own use. This becomes a win-win for everyone. The users get information at their fingertips. IT is now relieved of having to support the daily reporting requests, and they can focus on their functions. And the additional departments have visibility to demand information earlier in the planning cycle. Just now, when discussing phased implementations, we have already touched on the idea of greater internal collaboration for a multi-channel retailer. Success in bringing on a new planning system should benefit the whole company and not just a single department or area. Building upon that idea, we also see how a successful implementation of a planning system directly benefits many other departments such as design, production, finance, supply chain, and so on. With the early demand visibility gained through a planning system, for example, there can be a direct link and a data feed into the PLM system. The information sent to a PLM system can be used by many areas within the company, one of them being the design team. Having a quantitative indication as to the direction of the line can help align the designer's efforts with buying to reduce risks and wastes for the production team. This slide demonstrates a generic process where such internal visibility can drive efficiency and accuracy for planning, design, and finance. Breaking down the corporate strategic direction into a top-down merchandise plan and then sending that merchandise plan to a PLM system can allow the designers to create a CAP, or a conceptual assortment plan, as Ellen referred to earlier. This CAP will serve as the basis for line direction and ultimately should lead to more streamlined prototype and sample production. As the buyers create their initial assortments, many times using prototypes as real styles may not have been adopted yet, any changes to the line will be automatically communicated to the buyers. This allows the buyers to be working with the most current data in regards to costing, colors, and added or dropped styles. Similarly, the finance department can now easily access the merchandise plan information to have visibility and control over the company's inventory investments. A company's head of finance used to struggle to understand the requests for funds to invest in inventory. He wanted to understand how the numbers added up, what was the reason behind the requests for such investments, etc. With merchandise planning information often scattered in a legacy system or a spreadsheet-based environment, there was very low visibility for the head of finance to understand what the true buy really was. With a new planning platform in place, which has robust reporting capabilities, the head of finance can now feel comfortable because they can run reports during the entire planning cycle to understand the demand and the changes that the merchandise team is planning for. Similarly, the demand visibility benefits supply chain, logistics, and other departments to be more agile and flexible in the face of changing demand. With data integration with other systems such as ERPs and PLMs, a planning platform becomes a demand visibility center that can benefit many mission-critical departments outside of planning. This is a win for the entire organization. Successful implementations and ongoing usage of a system that suits your business needs can bring your teams together, provide them with all the automation and intelligence, and free them to do what they do best, namely, finding your next big profit opportunity and avoid inventory risks, or as Ellen said earlier, become proactive instead of reactive. With that, I thank you for your attention and look forward to answering your questions in the Q&A. I also wish you the best of luck in your decisions to invest in and implement a planning and allocation system to help you achieve your business transformation agendas. Back to you, Susan.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben. That was a lot of really good practical input and advice. So we are going to move right into our questions now. Thank you for those who've sent questions in. First question, Ellen, I'll direct to you. Does Brooks Brothers have a PLM system? And if so, is it integrated with Seventh Online's planning solution?
Yeah, so we do use a PLM system, and Sahal can go into that a little bit more, but it will be integrated with Seventh Online. So everything that's created in our PLM system will automatically download into Seventh Online, so we'll have the visibility within Seventh Online. And anytime there's updates in PLM, we'll see that information. I believe it's overnight. Ben, is that true?
Yes, I believe we're scheduling to be a nightly feed.
A nightly feed, yeah. So we are integrating.
Yeah, so we use PTC for our PLM system, and as Ellen said, that's a critical piece of master data that we do have an integration point because it's really critical to this process to have that right. So we didn't want to duplicate master data in yet another store, so there is an interface that brings that over.
Okay. Related to that, we have a question, what ERP solution does Brooks Brothers use?
So we're in a hybrid mode today because part of our business runs on JDA, and part of our business has already transitioned over to SAP. Our plan is to SAP is the future strategic platform globally. We just have not yet finished, transitioning some of the legacy business off of JDA.
Okay, thank you. Ellen and Sahal, I'll let you decide who wants to take this one. Does Brooks Brothers have a demand planning function within the supply chain? And if yes, how do you marry demand planning with the Seventh Online tools with the monthly forecast process?
So we do have a demand planning function. I think one key call out here is that we're in the process of looking at our overall supply chain and looking at how we better integrate the demand planning with some of the other aspects of the planning equation and the supply chain. So today we have a group called Global Inventory Management, and what they do is they really look at demand on a global basis and try to leverage a global trading company that we have in Hong Kong to really be the gatekeeper of all demand and work with each of the markets to then translate the that respective market's demand into the global plan and make updates that way. So it is a work in progress. We are not yet at the point where this is an automated solution with handoffs that are fully system driven. There are still several manual processes that we're working through on this, but that's something that we're looking to address later this year as well.
Okay, thank you. Also for Sahal and Ellen, can you tell us how you're integrating wholesale into the process?
So right now we've chosen to focus on our retail business and our direct businesses. So at this point, we're not integrating wholesale into the 7th Online implementation.
Can you also tell us what are your typical production lead times?
So our production lead times are fairly standard for the industry. It depends on product category and classification. We have things that are 4 months. We have things that are 6 months. I think that's pretty typical, and we're no exception to that.
Ben, why don't you take this question? Is there capability to export account assortment plans from the 7th Online system to the Brooks Brothers ERP to create sales orders?
Yes. Part of the 7th Online system from the assortment planning system creates the demand, which can then be sent to their purchase order management system to create either the purchase order requisitions or the actual purchase orders. So we have that capability built in.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have time for one last question. I'm going to address this to Ellen or Sahal, depending on who'd like to answer it. The question is e-commerce an important part of your growth strategy, and what is the vision for supporting that?
So e-commerce, as is part of most people's strategy, is a pretty big growth opportunity for us at Brooks Brothers. I think one of the things that we're doing with 7th Online, which we haven't been able to do so far, is we have the ability to treat direct as its very own business as opposed to just a store. Because we found that there are differences between what our direct customer wants and what our brick and mortar customers want. So, we have the capability to really create our own direct planning team and process with 7th Online.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. We had a couple more questions we did not have time to get to, but we will respond to all of you who submitted questions, so thank you for that. We have come to the conclusion of today's web event. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. We will be archiving the webinar should you or any of your other colleagues wish to access it. Again, I want to give a very warm thank you to our panelists and their time today and their expertise today, Sahal Lahar, Ellen Ross, and Ben Latini, and of course our sponsor, 7th Online. Good day.